Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Security Awareness for Dummies by Ira Winkler, CISSP. Narrated by Tristan Morris. Publisher's note: this audiobook will refer to visual elements included in the print and ebook editions of the book. Additionally, this audiobook includes many references to exercises. Please have a piece of paper with a pen or pencil or a note-taking device available. Limit of liability / disclaimer of warranty. While the publisher and authors have used their best efforts in preparing this work, they make no representations or warranties with respect to the accuracy or completeness of the contents of this work, and specifically disclaim all warranties, including, without limitation, any implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. No warranty may be created or extended by sales representatives, written sales materials, or promotional statements for this work. The fact that an organization, website, or product is referred to in this work as a citation and/or potential source of further information does not mean that the publisher and authors endorse the information or services the organization, website, or product may provide or recommendations it may make. This work is sold with the understanding that the publisher is not engaged in rendering professional services. The advice and strategies contained herein may not be suitable for your situation. You should consult with a specialist where appropriate. Further, one should be aware that websites listed in this work may have changed or disappeared between when this work was written and when it is read. Neither the publisher nor authors shall be liable for any loss of profit or any other commercial damages, including but not limited to special, incidental, consequential, or other damages. Introduction. Creating security awareness among users is much more difficult and complicated than just telling them, "Bad people will try to trick you, don't fall for their tricks." Not only is that advice usually insufficient, but you also have to account for much more than just bad people tricking your users. People lose equipment. They frequently know what to do, but have competing priorities. They may just not care. Relying on the user knowing what to do is not a silver bullet that creates a true firewall. However, with the right plan and strategy, you can make a measurable difference in improving user behavior. This book puts you on the right path to creating effective security awareness programs that meaningfully reduce risk to your organization. About this book. I started my career in cybersecurity, performing social engineering and penetration tests. I put together teams of former Special Forces officers and intelligence operatives, and we targeted companies as nation-states would. I focused on black bag operations, which often consist of clandestine activities such as lock-picking or safe-cracking, and otherwise infiltrating protected facilities. I went undercover to infiltrate organizations and persuade users to give me sensitive information. These operations led to the theft of reportedly billions of dollars of information and intellectual property. I gave it all back. My victims then had me go back to their organizations and tell the stories about what I did, as a form of security awareness. The users were mesmerized by my stories. I heard about some successes in improved awareness, but when I went back for further assessments, the reality was that no real improvement had occurred. Just telling stories and telling people what not to do has limited impact. Over 2 decades, I created and supported dozens, if not hundreds, of awareness programs for organizations of all types and sizes. I was able to see what worked best and what didn't. I found that many of the common beliefs and strategies just didn't work. They sounded great, but they were specious. I also learned how to tell when awareness efforts were doomed to failure. More important, though, I learned what works and how best to implement awareness programs. This book shows how to implement the strategy that I found, through decades of experience, actually works. It helps you cut through hype and platitudes and begin doing what actually works. Platitudes and hype sound noble, but they are frequently misleading. Some of what I describe might go against what is considered common practice. However, you must consider that common practice has led to few improvements over decades. With that in mind, consider my perspective and determine what works best for your purposes. No guarantee exists of what will or won't work in any given situation. Take this insight into account as you read this book and choose your own path. To help you choose that path, and to make the content more accessible, I've divided this book into 4 parts. Part 1. Getting to know security awareness. An overview of the fundamental concepts and philosophies of security awareness. Part 2. Building a security awareness program. The building blocks of an awareness program. Part 3. Putting your security awareness program into action. Creating and implementing your program. Part 4. The part of tens. Quick guidance for optimizing your program. The appendix provides a sample assessment questionnaire. Foolish assumptions. My fundamental assumption is that I have no assumptions except that you are interested in addressing human vulnerabilities. You may be a CISO who wants to get a handle on how to better address the most common attacks against your organization. You may run awareness programs and want to enhance your current efforts. You may have been randomly assigned to run an awareness program and have little idea where to start. Or you may simply be interested in becoming a more well-rounded cybersecurity professional. This book definitely provides a valuable addition to your knowledge base. Regardless of your role or position in your organization, if you're interested in addressing human vulnerabilities, you should find value in this book. I hope that you get to apply the information in a practical setting. As I finalize this manuscript, the 2021 Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report, DBIR, has been released, and it again reports that the targeting of users remains the top attack vector. It is my belief that this book can help to address this problem. Icons used in this book. Throughout this book, icons that will be verbalized in this audiobook highlight certain types of valuable information that call out for your attention. Here are the icons you encounter, and a brief description of each. Tip. The tip icon marks tips and shortcuts you can use to make creating and running awareness programs easier. Remember. Remember icons mark the information that's especially important to know. Frequently, paragraphs marked with this icon reiterate information that is presented previously in the book, but bears repeating in the current context. Technical stuff. The technical stuff icon marks information that is specifically practical in implementing awareness programs. It involves information specific to the execution of programs. Warning. The warning icon tells you to watch out. This icon marks important information that may save you headaches, or at least let you know when those headaches might pop up, and why. Beyond the book. In addition to the abundance of information and guidance related to creating a security awareness program that we provide in this book, you gain access to even more help and information online at dummies.com. Check out this book's online cheat sheet. Just go to dummies.com and search for Security Awareness for Dummies cheat sheet. Where to go from here? This book follows a certain flow, but as identified in the description of the parts of this book, and as I write in the Foolish Assumptions section, you may be anywhere in the process of implementing an awareness program. For that reason, I intend for the chapters to stand alone as much as possible. Part 1 of this book covers my philosophies, biases, and experience, which may help you understand the perspective of the advice I provide, but you should be able to start with any chapter that seems most relevant to you. If you have a functional program running and want to enhance it, I recommend turning to the chapters on gamification, discussed in Chapter 11, running phishing simulations, discussed in Chapter 12, or metrics, discussed in Chapter 8. Part 1. Getting to know security awareness. In this part, see what makes security awareness work. Avoid the pitfalls that cause security awareness programs to fail. Get the most from what science shows about human behavior. Chapter 1. Knowing how security awareness programs work. In this chapter, recognizing the importance of security awareness, working with the security awareness program, knowing where awareness fits within a security program, getting why the so-called human firewall doesn't work. A successful security awareness program motivates people to behave according to defined practices that decrease risk. Creating a program that successfully changes behavior throughout an organization involves more than just simply communicating a bunch of facts about security awareness. Just because people are aware of a problem doesn't mean they will act on their awareness. In other words, awareness doesn't guarantee action. Everyone knows that fast food isn't the healthiest choice, but most people still eat it. This chapter sets the foundation for understanding the issues and the solutions. Understanding the benefits of security awareness. The thinking behind security awareness is that if people are aware of a problem, they're less likely to contribute to the problem and more likely to respond appropriately when they encounter it. Users who are aware don't pick up USB drives on the street and insert them into their work computers. They're aware of their surroundings and ensure that nobody is looking over their shoulders while they're working. They don't connect to insecure Wi-Fi networks. They're less likely to fall victim to phishing attacks. Essentially, users who are aware don't initiate losses for their organizations. Organizations typically create security awareness programs to ensure that their employees, or users, are aware of cybersecurity problems that are already known to the organization. Phishing messages, which I cover in the next section, represent the most prolific attack against users. Reducing losses from phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are common enough these days that many people are already familiar with the term. A working definition is an email message that intends to trick a user into taking an action that is against the user's interests. A phishing awareness program would ideally train people to properly determine how to handle incoming emails in a way that reduces the likelihood of loss. For example, if a message asks for the disclosure of information, the ideal situation is that a user knows what information they can disclose and to whom, while also determining whether the sender is valid. Chapter 6 discusses this topic in more detail. To appreciate the losses that a phishing attack can cause, consider these prominent attacks. Sony. The infamous 2014 Sony hack, which was reportedly perpetrated by North Korea, began with a phishing attack. The hack resulted in the leak of information about movies, the movies themselves, and embarrassing emails. Sony reported costs of the hack to be $35 million. Target. The 2013 Target hack, which compromised more than 110 million credit card numbers and consumer records, began with the phishing attack of a Target vendor. Target reported the resulting costs to be $162 million. OPM. The attack on the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, discovered in 2014, which comprised the security clearance files of 20 million U.S. government employees and contractors, began with the phishing attack against a government contractor. The costs and losses are immeasurable because this attack is considered a major intelligence success for China, the perpetrator of the attack named by the U.S. government. Colonial Pipeline. The Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack in 2021 began with a phishing message that captured user credentials and allowed the criminals to establish a sustained presence on the network. This allowed some criminals to find the most critical systems and eventually installed the ransomware, which caused Colonial Pipeline to shut down the pipeline, halting a primary oil delivery to the U.S. East Coast. Colonial Pipeline paid the criminals approximately $4.4 million, but the actual costs resulting from the shutdown were tens of millions of dollars to Colonial Pipeline and an incalculable cost to the economy. Technical stuff. The Verizon Enterprises Solutions Data Breach Investigations Report, commonly referred to as DBIR, is one of the most often cited studies in the cybersecurity field. The report, which is produced annually, is drawn from data collected directly
by Verizon's Managed Security Service. The DBIR, considered a reliable overview of real-life attacks against organizations around the world, indicates that more than a whopping 85% of all major attacks begin by targeting users. You can access the report at verizon.com/business/resources/reports/DBIR. Reducing losses by reducing risk. Just as people get themselves into automobile accidents despite advances in automobile safety, even reasonably aware users may fall victim to cybersecurity attacks. All cybersecurity countermeasures will eventually fail. Countermeasures include encryption, passwords, antivirus software, multi-factor authentication, and more. Perfect security doesn't exist. Your goal in establishing a security awareness program is to reduce risk by influencing user actions. Remember, don't expect users to be perfect. Risk reduction isn't about eliminating risk altogether, which is impossible. Expect your security awareness program to reduce the number and severity of incidents, thereby reducing losses from the incidents. Also, a more aware user knows when something seems wrong and knows how to react to it. If your users sense that they might have been compromised, they start taking actions to mitigate the loss. If they accidentally email sensitive data to the wrong person, they try to stop the message or have it deleted. If they end up on a malicious website that starts serving adware, they disconnect before additional damage can occur. They know how to properly report any and all potential incidents, so your organization can begin to stop any loss or damage in progress. In the worst case, at least they can launch an investigation after the fact to find out what happened. In the ideal situation, even when a user takes no potentially harmful action, they report the situation to the appropriate party. They report details such as whether someone tried to follow them through a door, even if they turned the person away, because they know that the person might attempt to enter through another door or follow someone else through the door. If someone detects a phishing message, they don't click on it. Instead, they report the message because they realize that other, less aware users may click on it, and then the administrators can delete the message before that happens. As you can see, awareness requires more than knowing what to be afraid of. You also have to know how to do things correctly. Too many awareness programs focus on teaching users what to be afraid of, rather than on establishing policies and procedures for how to perform functions correctly and in a way that doesn't result in loss. Remember, the goal for awareness is for users to behave according to policies and procedures. Part of the function of an awareness program is making users aware that bad guys exist and that those bad guys will attempt to do bad things. But awareness programs primarily focus on making people aware of how to behave according to procedures in potentially risky situations. Grasping how users initiate loss. At a cybersecurity conference where I spoke, I was in a buffet line at lunchtime. At one table that the line passed, I saw some stickers that said, "Don't click on shit." The person in front of me was an administrator, and he grabbed a handful of stickers while saying, "I need a lot of these to give to my users." I then replied, "You must give your users a lot of shit to click on." The guy was confused and asked what I meant. I replied that the users would have no items to avoid clicking on if the systems he supported didn't pass the messages to the users. I then added that if he knows users will click on problematic items, he should be taking active measures to stop the inevitable damage. He was confused, but of course kept the stickers. Tip: for more information on user-initiated loss, find a copy of my book, written with Dr. Tracy Celaya Brown, You Can Stop Stupid: Stopping Losses from Accidental and Malicious Actions. Users can cause only the amount of damage they're put in the position to cause, and then allowed to carry out. However, even after they make a potentially damaging mistake, or even if they're blatantly malicious, it doesn't mean that the system should allow the loss to be realized. For example, a user can click on a phishing message only if the anti-phishing technology used by your organization fails to filter the message. If the user clicks on a phishing message and ransomware is activated, the ransomware can destroy the system only if the user has permission to install software on the system. And then, in almost all cases, you have no standard anti-malware on the system. Remember, user error is a symptom of the problems with your system. Even if a user makes a mistake, or is even malicious, the resulting loss is a problem with the system providing users with potential actions and then enabling the loss. In essence, users may initiate a chain of actions that create the loss, but the loss is a result of failings in the system as a whole. Knowing how security awareness programs work. Unfortunately, there is little consistency in what is perceived to be a sufficient organizational security awareness program. Some organizations just have users or employees sign a document. Many other awareness programs require employees to read the document once a year, or increasingly, watch a video. At the other end of the spectrum, when I started at the National Security Agency, NSA, my security awareness training actually began long before I started working there. After I passed the initial aptitude test, I was sent information to arrange for an interview. During that interview was a conversation about the special security considerations of working for the NSA. I was prepared for what would be involved in obtaining a top-secret clearance, as well as the need not to discuss my potential employment. I was then invited to visit the NSA headquarters for further interviews. My travel packet included a basic discussion of security requirements. Upon arrival, I was provided with another security briefing related to how to get into and then behave within the facilities. I met with counterintelligence officers who provided a general overview of security requirements and then administered a polygraph exam. I also took a battery of psychological tests. During the technical interviews, I met with professionals who also discussed the job expectations, including the expected security-related behaviors. The NSA is a special case, of course. Most organizations don't engage in such rigorous screening practices. Technical stuff. The goal of a security awareness program is to improve security-related behaviors. The goal is not to simply make people aware of an issue. The goal is to inspire people to behave appropriately to avoid the initiation of a loss, and ideally, to detect and respond to the potential for loss. Whether people understand how their actions promote security is secondary, because the goal of an awareness program is to change behaviors, not just impart knowledge. When I started working at the NSA, I took a 3-day security awareness class. Security awareness posters were hung on the walls all over the buildings. Applicants received security newsletters and attended regular security-related presentations. These awareness tools were generally unnecessary, however. All I had to do to see how to behave was behave like everyone else. Everyone wore their badges, so I wore my badge. Everyone lined up to have their belongings inspected on the way out of the buildings. In essence, the entire culture was the awareness program. People lost their jobs because of security violations. I'm not saying the NSA was perfect, because it clearly had some major failings, but for all the potential risk, the NSA experienced relatively little loss. Clearly, few organizations in the world have the type of awareness program that the NSA has. Unlike organizations that prioritize profits, branding, and other deliverables, the NSA focuses on security. Security is the NSA brand. A good security awareness program intends to change and improve security-related behaviors. You can incorporate many tools into an awareness plan to create that change. Chapter 7 defines a variety of tools you can incorporate into your program. Some tools are more popular than others. However, no tool is absolutely required. The choice depends on your needs. At the end of the day, a security awareness program is essentially a set of tools, techniques, and measurements intended to improve security-related behaviors. Establishing and measuring goals. The ultimate goal of a security awareness program is to change and improve security-related behaviors. Security programs are created to reduce loss. As an essential part of an organization's overall information security program, security awareness should likewise reduce loss. In Chapter 8, I discuss some metrics you can use to judge whether your awareness program successfully reduces loss. Many security awareness professionals talk about the likability of their tools, the number of people who show up to their events, and the quality of their posters. These metrics and general impressions are nice to know, but they're relatively useless from a practical perspective. A metric demonstrating that you're changing behaviors in a way that reduces loss, or preferably improves efficiency and makes the organization money, is the most useful metric to show that you're producing value. This isn't to say that it's the only possible benefit of a security awareness program. Awareness programs also often provide intangible benefits to the organization. These benefits include protecting the organization from damage to its reputation, illustrating that the organization is committed to security, generating excitement and engagement among employees, and reassuring customers that your organization is actively protecting them. Remember, if your goal is to contribute to your organization's security effort, you must identify the benefits your program will bring to the organization. These benefits can't be that the program merely provides information. The program should improve behaviors. You must be able to show how the program returns clear value to your organization, and this value should ideally return clear value to the bottom line. Getting the budget you need. I developed a philosophy during my career in cybersecurity. You don't get the budget you need. You get the budget you deserve. Security awareness teams typically compete against other teams for budget funds and other resources. For example, the team may work under the cybersecurity, human resources, HR, compliance, legal, physical security, or another department within the organization. All these teams compete for funding and other resources. Even if your cybersecurity program has sufficient resources to fully fund all teams, including the awareness program, you have to show that you deserve the budget amount you're requesting. You need to financially justify your efforts. You can have plans for the best awareness program in the industry, but if you cannot demonstrate that you deserve the appropriate budget, you won't get the budget you need to implement it. Chapter 8 details how to collect metrics that help you show that you deserve what you need. Showing users how to do things right. For your awareness program to help create desired behaviors, the program must show people the proper way to perform job tasks, or do things right. In other words, you provide instructions on how to do things properly by default. When you consider most of the materials produced by vendors, and a great deal of the materials produced by organizations for internal use, these materials frequently focus on the fact that bad people intend to trick you. They tell you about criminals who will do harm if you fall for their tricks. This information can provide motivation, which can be worthwhile, but it doesn't show users how to recognize suspicious situations as they encounter them. When you teach people to focus on the ways bad people will exploit them, the training will fail when the bad people try a different trick. Expecting users to combat well-resourced, highly skilled criminals is a losing proposition. You cannot expect users to be consistently effective in thwarting such parties. The better approach is for your awareness training to focus on the way that users can do their jobs properly. Ensure that users have an established process that they're familiar with and that they know how to follow. The process should account for the potential of bad people trying to game the system. I once worked with a large online gaming company that had problems with criminals calling up the support desk to dupe the support personnel into changing the passwords on specific accounts so that the criminals could go into the accounts and sell the assets. I created a decision tree to authenticate callers. As long as the support personnel followed the provided guidance, no accounts were compromised, and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?